do this. Yeah.
And we're live. Welcome. People are going to start signing on now. Welcome everyone to episode 13 of React Native Live. We didn't have one last month, July, because my guest, Jay, and myself were getting ready for Chain React, and we both had talks, so we're pretty busy. So that's why that didn't happen. While I wait for everyone to kind of sign on, I'll go ahead and let you know, let us know where you're joining in from. I'm, your host, Mazen Chami. I live in Durham, North Carolina, and I'll be your host for today. I'm really excited about this show because I've heard Jay talk many times. I've known Jay now for a while, and we're going to talk everything. I like to joke and say we're going to talk everything Legend Star, because Jay has a lot of Legend Star open source packages, but we'll focus on LegendList today. I know I said LegendList and LegendState while promoting this show, but while Jay and I were preparing for this, while Jay was preparing for this, he said he had a lot to kind of walk us through, which LegendList. But, keep the chat rolling, talk about whatever you want to talk about, sort of thing. Jay, thanks for coming on the show. Before we kick things off, where are you joining us from?
I'm currently in San Diego, which is my hometown. I'm with my parents for a week.
Nice. San Diego. Okay. You said currently in San Diego. Care to elaborate on why you said currently?
Yeah, I'm a digital nomad, so I'm all over the place all the time. So I was in Japan in the beginning of the year, and then in Europe and a lot of England for most of the summer, I guess. So I went to App.js conference and then React Summit, and then hung out in England for a few months, and then I flew over to Portland to go to Chain React. And then I went with my parents to Las Vegas last week, and then this week I'm with them in San Diego. And then on Saturday I fly back to England, and I'm going on a hiking trip in Italy.
Nice. That's amazing. Digital nomad. I love that. In today's day and age, I guess the pandemic kind of made that. I've heard about it more since the pandemic, right? A lot of people, just working remote jobs, moving and working from wherever. That's pretty cool.
I started doing it in 2012, and then it got
so
more
you're ahead of the times.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I guess I usually ask about an interesting fact, but you said you're going to go hiking in Italy. I feel like Italy has a lot of cool hiking parts. What part are you going hiking?
I've not been hiking in Italy yet, but it's going to be in the Dolomites, in the mountains.
Okay, I feel like I've heard of that. I feel like that's going to be...
I think we're flying into Venice. We'll stay there for 2 days and then go to the mountains.
Nice.
See some sights.
Nice. That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff to do there. Well, other than technology, what's another interesting fact about yourself, other than being a digital nomad?
Well, I also love photography. So the hiking is going to be an excuse for photography. And I've also been making the conferences an excuse for photography, taking a lot of photos of people at conferences. Yeah. That's been fun.
I agree. If you've ever met Jay at a conference, he always has a camera with him. And
I just started that this year.
What camera? Well, I feel like I saw you, was it twice or 3 times this year? And you had a camera with you every single time. Yeah. So do you have a camera with you now? Are you going to take pictures of us while we're doing this live stream?
No. I just got a new camera in January, so I've been loving it.
Is it a Sony?
It's a Sony RX1 R3.
Okay. I say that because if anyone was at Chain React, Ken LaFrance was making fun of the photographer, because I think Ken LaFrance's team, I don't know, is between Sony and Canon
guy.
Yeah. So I think Ken Ken, who's the MC of Chain React, is a Canon guy, but the photographer had a Sony, so he gave him a hard time about that. Frank Calise, I'll be in Italy to do some hiking late September also. So you all can kind of meet up there.
Yeah. No, late September, I'm going to be at React Native Connection in Paris.
Okay. Well, there's another conference. Nice. Cool. Well, we haven't started yet, and I guess as people are logging on, continue to keep the chat going. There are a couple more minutes before we kind of kick things off. Grab your coffee, drink, wherever you are around the world. Jay, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience. Tell us how you got to where you're at now in your career. I'd love to hear that.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Jay. I guess my career started. I started as a game developer when I was in college. So I was in a club at Carnegie Mellon called the Game Creation Society, and we made a lot of games. I ended up being a team lead for 5 games. So I was the lead developer and managing the team, and started with a little side scroller 2D game, and then ended up making a 3D space shooter and a couple other 3D games, which was much harder back in 2006. So that was a lot of fun. And then I interned at EA Games. And then when I graduated, I decided to not be a game developer. And I went to Microsoft and worked on Windows 7. And then I moved into research. And so I worked on a research group at Microsoft. So we worked on future planning for Windows 8, Xbox, Surface, Windows Phone, and Kinect.
Nice.
So I worked on a bunch of stuff, learned computer vision, things like that. And then I helped start the Surface tablet. And then I left. And then I started my own company, Legend, and made a fairly popular productivity app that most people haven't heard of. And then I started another company with some other friends called Bravely, which was a platform for mental health therapy. And then I was sharing a lot of code between them. So then I extracted some libraries. And then my friend suggested that I benchmark my state library. And it was not great. It was kind of mediocre. And that made me really upset. So then I just kind of blacked out for a week until it was faster than all the rest of them.
Yeah.
And then I open sourced that. And then that got kind of popular. That was LegendState. And then when I was at React Advanced a year and a half ago, I think, Mo gave a talk about new architecture. Yeah. And he said that measurement is now synchronous. And that just sparked something in my head about we can make list work with that. So I just started making a list library, and then it turned out to be really fast. And so I open sourced it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
And then now, since my open source stuff's taking off, my career's kind of shifted to doing a lot of consulting for performance optimization and for making apps work with LegendList and making LegendList better for apps and stuff.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I think, for I have a lot of questions, by the way, for all our listeners. I think one thing, coming away from this live stream, and I'll mention it later on in the show as well, use this as an opportunity to learn from Jay and how he, all the packages that he's put together and how performant they are, because they are. Jay's put in a lot of time. They're well written, they're well typed, and you'll get some performance gains. I even did a small benchmark on my app, and I think Jay, you urged me to just try it out when we were at App.js. And I told you, I don't have a lot of lists. The app I'm currently working on for the client, at max we have one screen that has like maybe 10 items. They are, text and image heavy each row, right? And you're like, just benchmark it. You were like, go to a scroll view, benchmark it, flat list, flash list, legend list, benchmark it. Yeah. I don't have those numbers. I promised you I'd get you those numbers, and I will. But LegendList did come up on top with all of that. So I'm putting together like a chart and all that to kind of discuss, moving all our lists, regardless of how small they are. We had a list of 4 items actually, and they actually rendered faster. It was milliseconds, but it rendered faster. So yeah. I'll get you that information, and maybe I'll even kind of tweet about it stuff. Yeah. I want to talk about EA Games, but before that, I'm going to plug your productivity app, Legend app. I think that's one people can kind of take a look at. It's a nice, well-written app. It's in React Native, right? So, it's pretty cool to kind of see that. Is it in React Native?
So it's an Electron web app on desktop. On mobile, it's a React Native app that wraps a web view, because historically, React Native wasn't fast enough at lists, and I made a web virtualized view that was so much faster than React Native. It was better to have a web view than React Native, which is what sparked my anger about this. But it's still good and very fast as a web view, so that's fine. But working on improving it still.
Nice, awesome. Yeah, and again, all the other open source stuff that you talked about. And I think we're going to tease some stuff at the end of the live demo, right?
Yeah.
So that's exciting to see. And you said you worked at EA Games for a while. The stuff you did at Microsoft with the Surface is amazing. I've heard you mention that many times. All the different stories you've had there. That's pretty cool. What was there a fun game you worked on at EA Games?
Yeah, I worked on a game for the Nintendo Wii called Boom Blocks. And so it was a game where you would basically there'd be towers of blocks on screen, and then you throw balls or random stuff at them to knock them down. So it was like a physics game.
Okay.
Nice. And so being an intern for 3 months, I basically was in charge of the Wiimote. So doing all the gestures and physics and like throw speed and angle. And there was a feature where it was like a hammer throw. So you could spin it around like this.
Okay.
So then I had to figure out the rotational velocity to determine how hard to throw it and stuff. And then I did a little bit of the pointer position on screen.
Cool.
And then a little bit of physics, a little bit of the UI when points pop up the screen and stuff. So nice. Yeah, it was very fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. A lot of different ways to kind of get to where you're at now in your journey. That's awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show. I'm excited about this and kind of get to see more of LegendList. I always want to say LegendStar. Sorry.
But the LegendStar family is growing soon.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there you go. Please keep the chat going, everyone. I like to kind of see all you all talking in there. Be sure to bring up any questions you have. Let's keep this conversation flowing. I see a lot of familiar faces in there.
I see Justin's following me again.
Yes, Justin is following you again. There he is. And yeah, Khalid, good to see you as well. We met at Chain React. And John Major said, I was expecting Jay as digital nomad streaming from a coffee shop, beach, mountain. Oh, maybe we could do another live stream when you're in Italy at the top of the mountain. We can kind of get you streaming from up there, right?
Yeah,
to do
I'll be there next week.
Yeah, there we go. All right, next week, same time, everybody. Justin. All right, cool. Let's kind of like set the stage. We're going to talk LegendList. I know you mentioned this was about a year and a half ago, and I think about a year and a half ago.
Almost 2 years, I guess.
Yeah. This is kind of when, everyone was using Flatlist at that point, and then FlashList had just come out, and people were starting that transition, and then you rewrote LegendList. I
think FlashList was already pretty popular at the time.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone was using it. I remember I had moved a bunch of clients over to it. I think internally at Infinite Red, we had clients using FlashList. And it's almost like a list wars. We did an episode on React Native about this, right? Because Discord, I don't believe they released their list open source, but they wrote an article where they created a list called fastest list. So everyone's like just like fastest, like coming up with different ways to say fast. But Jay takes it to another level where Legend. Next is like goat list or something maybe. But we'll see. So okay, talk me through the internals of LegendList. How is it built? What does it look like internally? How does it function? A lot in one question. But yeah, talk us through the
huge question.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a recycling virtual view, and so what happens is, as you scroll down, let's say, an item will go off the screen and not be used anymore, and then another item will come to the bottom of the screen and need to be used. So what Flatlist would do is just put a new thing at the bottom, and it'll just kind of scale up to like 50 by default or something, new items on screen. And then what both FlashList and LegendList do is recycle the container. So when the item moves off screen, it just moves that down and then puts a different item into it. And so you're recycling all the React views and also the React Native views. So if you've, say, mounted an Expo image or a gesture handler, then that will just move down and continue to be reused. So you don't have to pay that mount cost as new things come onto screen. And so that recycling is very important. The difference between FlashList and LegendList mainly is LegendList uses a signaling mechanism. So what would happen when, say, item A goes off screen and then item F comes onto screen is you'll then re-render the array from B to F. That's what FlashList does.
Okay.
What LegendList does is the container that was A and is now F re-renders itself with F. And so it doesn't re-render the whole array. It doesn't do all the React reconciling. It just renders that one thing. And so that's just a lot less work, which is, I think, the original big part of why it's faster. And then just a year of intense performance optimization made it get faster and faster all the time.
Yeah.
And then it also has some little tricks we can maybe get into later, but like as you're scrolling, it'll figure out what the next position that it needs to actually calculate an item change. So it'll just ignore the scroll positions until it gets over that threshold. Just like doing everything it can to do less work.
Got it. Okay. So I think that's pretty cool to kind of visualize when you're not just you're preparing for, whatever screen height is plus 50, I believe you mentioned. So you're kind of getting that ready. So when it comes onto the screen, it's repainted, with that, we said A to F. And so you're kind of working ahead essentially to get us optimized as it comes on.
Yeah. So there's a prop draw distance, which I think defaults to 300, if I remember right. And so that'll prepare 300 pixels ahead of the screen. But then also if you're scrolling quickly, it'll move that window down a little bit to prepare for the future. Because one of the problems in React Native is the on-scroll handler is asynchronous. And so it can, and then it has a value in it, which is potentially wrong already if you're scrolling really fast. So it'll tell you the amount it was a few milliseconds ago, which may be wrong already. So we have to kind of project into the future based on velocity to kind of figure out where the actual rendering window should be.
Yeah, I think anyone that's worked on a large list, and let's just even say a paginated list, right? And the QA or even product is always like, but I see a lot of white space. Like, what's happening here? Like, they're always like doing that. And I think you have a video or a GIF on LegendList's website where you're showing how performant it is to do that, right?
Yeah.
Darren has a good question. I think this is actually a good time to talk about it because we mentioned performance. What are your preferred tools for measuring performance, right? Because to you, it sounds like to me that comparing, package A against LegendList, you want to be able to know how much more performant you are, and where, because you mentioned kind of going into that week-long hole and then coming out with a library, right? What tools were you using to make sure that you were getting performant in that?
So the LegendState hole was, there was a benchmark tool for state libraries that I was running on it. And then I also made my own little benchmarks, just running on, say, allocating and rendering 1,000 things and just see how fast that can get. But that was before AI existed. So things have changed very significantly. So for list a year ago, the answer was, I have a very slow phone that my friend Herebot gave me. And so I test on that. And then I just visually, like, does it look better than it used to? I think, and then I have a script that scrolls at a constant speed so I can get a reproducible example. I think that's important, just how fast does it look? Exactly. Because it's hard to measure blank spaces and stuff. But then for pure performance, just React Native dev tools are really good now. And sometimes I look at them myself. Most of the time I'm using Agent Device or Argent to just do it for me. And then I also do a lot of console logging that I'm having agents read. So I actually have a skill that's in a Legend Skills repo called Diagnose, which basically what it does is it will, I'll give it a problem. It'll add logs around where it thinks the problem probably is. And then it'll go and run the app itself, reproduce the thing itself, read all the logs from it, determine what the best fix is. If it's not 100% confident in the fix, it'll add more logs and do it again and loop until it's 100%. And then once it gets there, it will come up with some fixes, fix them, measure it again, and then come back to me and tell me how much it made it faster. Nice. So what I've been doing recently is just run that on a loop, find ways to make it faster. And then I'll come back to just paragraphs of number one, I did this, it made it this much faster, number two, etc. And then I can judge whether I think these are actually good. Cool. So yeah, it shifted from me manually testing it to just asking AI, what do you think you can do? And then obviously there's still a lot of I have my own ideas. So like, try this, see if it works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that you put in the consistent scroll, because that's also very important. Because if you're comparing metrics between two apps, like if you're sitting there and scrolling on your device, it's never really consistent, right? And it differs from device to device, because an iPhone versus a Samsung versus a Pixel all have different ways to read that swipe. So you doing something consistent makes complete sense within there. You did mention a couple of things. I'm going to include all these links in the show notes, but also posting them. You mentioned your skills. I want to mention that later on, but definitely check that out, especially the diagnose one that you just mentioned. Argent is a very cool AI testing toolkit agent device. I know there's a new one on the market. Tester Army. I will have them on the show at some point to kind of go through what they're doing. There's a lot of AI tools out there, but I think one thing for me, and I think for all of us now in the AI world as developers, I don't want us to lose touch with the human interaction, right? Because our users aren't using AI to benchmark your app, aren't using AI for all that, right? We need to make sure we get the information to the users fast and performant, right? Painting it on the screen fast enough, making sure we get them the right information on the screen, but then also giving them a good experience. If I hold the phone in my hand and I'm not able to scroll efficiently, but the AI, because we're giving it a command, it's like a hardware command, almost like scroll at a consistent pace. It's always going to scroll at a consistent pace. But if it's not working with me physically scrolling, something's wrong, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And product and QA are going to do it manually by hand.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're able to nail that experience too as well.
Yes.
I like that. I love that you mentioned that.
And I am using AI quite a bit to do the optimizing, but I am not yet a believer in just merged AI code. So I'm reviewing every line myself. I'm testing it on iOS and Android, making sure it is actually fast and better. And it often does not make the greatest code. So then there's a lot of also tweaking it myself and going back and forth to make it better.
Yeah. Recently, it wrote a lot of comments and like one line change. And I was like, well, yes, I think you could have phrased it differently in one line versus the 20 lines of comments. Yeah, I get that. One of my first internship jobs I had was interning as a QA intern at Viacom, so MTV at the time. And I was working on a Nickelodeon and Nickelodeon at Night website. And I had to, QA a bunch of, we would call it MASH day, which was Wednesday mornings, but we would just kind of go on the website, play a game, and just try and find bugs that way to report. Yeah, we called it MASH day because the idea was act like a kid, because these are, some of these are websites for kids. Act like a kid. A kid's not going to sit there and diligently scroll their mouse and press ASD and kind of walk through, right? They're going to hit the keyboard. What happens at that point? Does the app crash? What happens? So we called it MASH day for that reason. So it came off the screen. As Jay Meistrich said, generally speaking, be a user of the app. How does it feel for that?
There's another thing I think about often, which is one of my friends had a service called The User is Drunk, where someone would hire him to test their app. He would get real drunk and then test the app while drunk. It was apparently really good because he would do weird stuff.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
That's definitely one way to do it. Okay, cool. So I like that idea, what you mentioned about the recycling of the view. Does LegendList have anything native within it, or is it pure JavaScript?
Pure JavaScript.
Pure JavaScript. Awesome. Right. And that shows the power of this, new architecture, React Native, where we're at. I promised I wouldn't call it new architecture. The architecture, React Native, it shows all that power where you can build a very performant library in JavaScript and rather having to drop down to native to build a native recycler. Because how would a native developer build a performant list? I guess let's answer that question.
Yeah. So at least on iOS, you have the UI table view, and then you render native things into that. And so that is more synchronous, which is a benefit for them. But then you basically have a different trade-off where if your item component renders slowly in a synchronous view, you'll just drop frame rate if it can't keep up. In React Native, the scroller is on a different thread than the JavaScript. And so it'll keep scrolling. And if your React can't keep up, you'll see blanks. Yeah. So there's just different trade-offs there.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, exactly.
The reason that I did it in JavaScript is you're triggering React to render, which is from JavaScript. So it just has to be in JavaScript. If you try to solve this natively, you have to have some weird workarounds where you can't render your item components in React anymore. You have to render them natively, which is fine. And I actually do that in one of my apps. And if that's what you want to do, then that works. But we want to be able to render item components in React. So I think it has to be driven fully by JavaScript.
Yeah. Jamin said, I want my app in dev to start flashing red when the frame rate drops below 60 FPS at any point. Yeah.
Oh, that's a cool library. Make that.
Yeah. All right, Jamin.
Stop making games. Make that instead.
Yeah. You heard it here first, Jamin. Tyler's asking, can you tell us how you think about the difference between homogeneous lists and heterogeneous lists? Ooh. Do you have different perf expectations between them?
So I believe FlashList also and LegendList have a get item type. And so if you have heterogeneous lists, the best thing to do is use get item type so that you can say which type each item is. And then it uses different pools for the recycling containers, so it'll recycle properly. It uses different measurement averages. So that should make it just as performant as a homogeneous list, but just having two separate pools for each thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. But then there's also a difference between a fixed size list and dynamic list. So by default, LegendList will just measure everything and position it for you, but there is a little bit of overhead to that. So if you actually know everything's a fixed size, there's a get fixed item size prop. And then if you can return that for each type, and then that will save a bunch of work if you can.
Awesome. Cool. Jamin has already started working on it, or at least has his agents going on jamming list coming soon.
More competition.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I'm working at Margello right now, and Hano at Margello is also working on a list to compete with me internally.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. And I saw Darren also mention that he's going to create a really fast list, final, use this one. So yeah, we're waiting for that one too. Follow-up question by Tyler, or a different Tyler, same Tyler. Any perf expectation differences between fixed or dynamic then, or are you still really aiming for the same?
Really aiming for the same.
Yeah.
It'll save a little bit of overhead. Like it skips the use layout effect, it skips the measure call, but those are pretty minor, really.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Same bad Tyler, different bad Tyler username. Why not have AI just generate the list content dynamically each time?
AI is slow. You could do that, but it'll take some time.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's transition into demo code. I want to kind of see the demo code here. So I guess let's start by, I'm going to pull up your screen share. Let's talk about comparison. Let's compare flat list, legend list, flash list within each other.
Oh, I forgot how much worse this scrolls when I'm streaming it. Okay, so we can start with just a simple cards example. So in flat list, basically what happens is as you scroll, it'll just keep looking at more stuff. So look at this row up here, the row renders and mounted, etc. So as I scroll, it just keeps mounting more rows until it gets up to 50, and then it kind of starts unmounting things and then remounting at the bottom. So then you end up having 51 things rendered at a time, which can be bad.
Yeah.
And then flash list would start with 4. If you scroll really fast, it might get up to 6, but it's reassigning them all the time.
Okay.
And then legend list basically works the same way. So as you scroll, it just reassigns things as you go. You can see there's some blinking at the bottom because when I'm streaming it, it slows everything down.
Yeah.
So that's basically the same across flash list and flat list. But then where it gets kind of more interesting is there's this movies example, which was made by Alex Moreau, and I kind of modified it. So you can see the number of mounted things is growing because these are a horizontal flat list. And so every flat list is mounting a bunch more. So as I scroll, it'll keep mounting, and it gets real choppy because there's now 2,200 images being rendered, and they're unmounting and remounting as I scroll. So it's doing a lot of work. And so then the flash list version of it, I guess the images aren't going to load here. Let's pop back out. Yeah, okay. So as I'm scrolling, it stays at 150 because it's recycling the nested horizontal flash list. And so it doesn't have to keep unmounting and remounting things. So it's just reassigning images instead. And so that's ending up with 150 total mounted. And then LegendList works pretty similarly. It only ends up getting to 120 just from algorithm differences. And you can also see, since streaming is jamming up my CPU, because it's recycling the images, they just kind of switch over as you scroll down. So you don't see any blanks because it's recycling them, but then the images have to just swap in time. So you can handle that differently in your apps depending on how you want to do it.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's actually a cool example. This is kind of like, if you have a large list, you're doing a mobile ordering app, you're doing like even something like this, like an IMDb sort of application with images, Facebook Marketplace-esque or Mercari-esque application, scenarios like this. And, one thing that I've noticed when creating lists is the more content you put in every single row. I know here you have vertical and horizontal, but if we're just talking about a flat list, the more content in each row, the more difficult and the slower things get, right? Because it's having to paint a lot while still scrolling and doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then the flat list, as you're scrolling, just like stops. It just can't do it. So it gets real rough. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty rough. And that's where like a user who's using your application kind of gets hung up, and you have poor user experience there, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to try with the frame rate so you can see it.
So it just goes down to 1 FPS.
1.
That's not great. Yeah.
4 on the UI too. Yeah. We want to keep that as high as we can. 60. There we go.
Yeah.
When you do nothing.
These are probably going to look much worse since I'm streaming it again. But so as I'm scrolling, it stays at 20, 30, 40. So it's doing much better.
Yeah. And the streaming, I can kind of tell because of the streaming.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's kind of talk about how we can optimize our application. How can we get it performant?
Okay. So one of the things, so this is kind of jumping into, once you've used LegendList, there's a thing that people commonly do, which is there's an extra data prop, which I basically just copied the API from Flatlist and Flashlist to make it easy to migrate. And so what'll happen is, say you have which item is selected as state above your list, then to make the rows re-render as you select things, it has to pass the extra data all the way down. So let me see. That's this one. So this has a selected, and then it passes it in as extra data. And so what extra data does is it tells every single row element you might have to re-render. So they all re-render. And so then the ones that have a selection will update. But if you look at this row renders count up here, every time I select one, it re-renders every single row on screen.
Yeah.
And that is just not good. But that's there because Flatlist and Flashlist had it. I suggest not using it if possible. And so, let's see. The better way to do it is to have some external state. So then where's the word? Yeah, so I think the external state one is it has it inside the list here. So this one gets it from LegendState.
Okay.
And so the selection is just inside one item. And so then as I'm selecting, it's just rendering the one item that's changing, not the whole list.
Okay.
So this is very important with any list is you don't want to re-render everything all the time.
Yeah.
So just avoid extra data if possible.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah. And I guess kind of boiling down the differences between the two, the extra data is a state, a use state, or a selector, whatever you're using, high level. So whenever you click, that array changes, which needs your entire list to re-render. But what you're doing is you're doing it within each row. The row itself is making a decision of should I re-render or not. That way, we're not creating an entire list to re-render. It's just, item 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. are making that call for themselves.
Yeah. So if it's state that could be only within the item, then do that. Otherwise, use external state where you can use a selector to get to it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Khalid actually beat me, or Khalid actually beat me to it. Any plans to remove extra data in future release?
I don't think we can remove it because a lot of apps rely on it migrating from something else. But I think I should make the docs more effusive about don't use this if possible. And then there's also a LegendList skill in my skills repo, which will detect extra data and tell you not to use that and try to fix it for you.
Yeah, because I know you've mentioned to me in the past that if you're using flash list or flat list, the migration over to LegendList is pretty seamless, right? You just rename your whatever list to LegendList and same props and everything, and you get the performance immediately.
And this one prop, recycle items. Because recycle items does some kind of weird stuff where it'll reuse the same state in the item components.
Okay.
And so that's just how FlashList works. So it's by default, but because it's a little weird, I made it opt-in. Yeah. But most apps should be using it, so you should opt into it.
Awesome. Perfect. So there you go. Just change the name and add that one prop. Or you could just in the future make it default to true, and then you have to turn it off if you want to.
I did strongly consider that going into version 3. Yeah.
Awesome.
But I still have this ideal that if behavior is unexpected, it should be opt-in. And like recycling is a little bit unexpected.
Yeah. I like that. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Recycling state. How do we do that correctly?
So recycling state is interesting. So if I select these containers here with just a regular use state, these containers get recycled, and there's just a different item key that you get, but the state doesn't change. So then if I scroll, it reuses containers that still have those selected. And so then if I scroll down, it just looks really weird. And they're not always in order. So sometimes, I guess, they end up being in order.
Eventually.
It just switched them. So sometimes they won't be together anymore. It just reuses containers whenever it wants. So if you use state and recycling, it's crazy. But there is, let me find the file for this. Yeah, okay. So there's a use recycling state hook, which is, it's the same as use state, except it understands recycling. So then if I select some stuff and scroll, then it is fine. And then if it goes back to those, it's reset. So it gives you like a temporary state for while that item is on screen. When it goes off screen, it goes away.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, and I noticed the reassigned wasn't as high within that. So was that correct?
I don't think that matters. No, it's the same. It's just how much I'm scrolling. Okay.
Oh, gotcha. Oh yeah, because we did go over 100 in that one.
Yeah. For this example, that doesn't really matter. It's more of just this looks crazy.
That is weird.
Yeah. And so this is why recycle items is opt-in, because if you just use state, then this will happen. Exactly. So you need to understand what you're dealing with if you're recycling.
Yeah. Good point. Awesome. Yeah, cool. What do we have next?
So just this is kind of a common thing I see is, well, actually one more thing to talk about on recycling is there's, I mentioned it briefly before, there's a get item type function.
Mm-hmm.
So where's that used? So yeah, get item type. What that does is it makes separate recycling pools. And so if you have, say, an image component and a text component, then you don't want to recycle an image into a text because you lose all the performance optimization of keeping the native views. So then you say the get item type will return either image or text. And so then it'll recycle an image always into another image. And so that will improve the performance quite a bit. So that's very important. Yeah. So then, yeah, let's talk about stable identities. So there's a thing I see people do a lot, which is they'll have, I want to show you unstable. Yeah. You'll have functions that change all the time.
Okay.
And so then whenever the component containing the list re-renders, it'll make LegendList re-render with all the new props. So LegendList is memoized, so if you have the same props going into it, it'll just skip all that. But if the props change, then it'll have to deal with that. But it's actually not a huge problem because LegendList kind of pushes all that away for you. So if you change like the key extractor or the render item or something, I think in an earlier version, I had it so that that would make every item re-render because it could be that you're trying to re-render differently.
Mm-hmm.
But then I changed that because most people do that on accident. And so if you're trying to make it re-render because something changed, you have to put that in extra data. Otherwise, changing the props will not re-render the items. So even with the props changing all the time, when I render the parent, the row renders does not change. So it actually doesn't matter if you have stable props. It won't re-render the LegendList outer shell, but it will never re-render the items anyway. So this is actually, it's not a huge problem if you change your render item and key extractor.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, but it's not a huge problem because LegendList will hide that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. That's there we go. A free gain you get almost by switching over.
Yes.
Awesome.
And so then I have this data example. So hold on. Yeah. So lost it. Yeah. So this is kind of showing if you change all of the data, and if you have the data array where every reference is equal, then LegendList will compare the references and just say, oh, that's the same item. I don't have to re-render it. But if anything in the data changed, it might have to re-render. So it's just going to re-render everything. So then if I clone here, you see the row renders is hopping up.
Yeah.
Because the reference is changing. And then if I update one item, it just updates one. But then there's an items are equal, which is here. So I have this items are equal function, which is a prop into the LegendList down here. So this will say, basically, is it actually the same? So then I can clone everything and it will not re-render the rows. Okay. Because it says, oh, that's actually the same thing. So it's fine. And so, yeah, if data is coming from a server or something, then you can't keep reference equality. Then you should use items are equal to just keep equality. I've seen this in one of the apps I'm consulting on, is that when they say load a new page of stuff, it actually re-renders everything because it's effectively a new array with new data in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's actually an interesting, my mind is kind of like racing on different things that this can help solve, right? Like,
yeah,
I was looking at your docs before we got on, and I missed this one. Items are equal. This, I could see a lot of value in this, right? Because we always assume that our data is different, but it might not necessarily be different every single time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
because
And
we use. I know, like for example, again, say you're fetching a list using React Query, for example, right? You expect that React Query has a caching mechanism so that they're not giving you different data, so that the data is the same, and then your list doesn't re-render. But in theory, your list will re-render, right? But if
yeah.
the items are equal, or even if you refetch because you're getting more data, but the item and this returns that the items are equal, we don't have to re-render.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a powerful one. I think it might sound just like simple, like just like whatever, but I think it's a powerful tool to help with all this, especially in long lists, right?
Yes. And I realize I talk about re-renders a lot as if they're really bad. They are really bad, but going into that is a whole other thing. I've done a lot of talks about how bad they are,
Yeah.
but basically, the more you render, the more CPU you're going to use, and the slower things will get. So you want to just keep it real minimal. So, for example, if you have infinite scroll, then you're scrolling up and you're prepending more blocks that you get from your database as you scroll. You don't want that prepend to re-render every single thing. You want it to be instant. So it just suddenly has more messages above you. So it feels like you're scrolling infinitely with 60 FPS. So if every time you load a page, it drops to 0, it's a big problem.
Yeah.
So this comes from the kind of a nice effect of, because I've gotten all these consulting jobs helping people use LegendList, I'm just helping optimize so many different apps using LegendList that I'm finding all these problems and then adding little features to help them. So this one was for a chat app, scrolling up into history, pulling out of SQLite.
Yeah. Or even a to-do list, right? If it's the same item, like, because sometimes, sometimes I'll use Skylight for my to-do list, and I'll get lazy to like show the completed ones to then uncheck it kind of thing. I'll just rewrite it again, but it's the same one, right? Even if I check it or uncheck it, there's no need. It's the same equal item.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And this is the beautiful thing about open source. I think I kind of want to highlight. You're an amazing developer working on this and helping clients get their apps performant. And, we're getting this for free, which is amazing. Yeah. Like it kind of goes back upstream, like helping all the others upstream with, your learnings through everything else. That's
amazing. It's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the beauty of open source and React Native and our community that I love.
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Any other cool functions that are going to blow my mind here?
We could get into some more advanced stuff here.
Yeah. Like keyboard. Keyboard's a topic. I mean,
yes, keyboard is a huge problem. So
yes.
I worked a lot with Kirill, who makes React Native Keyboard Controller, and Tyler Kaufman also helped us quite a bit. And so we basically made chat work much better. So I did a bunch of this for the V0 app, and then that worked really well. And so then, Kirill and Tyler kind of helped do it more correctly in Keyboard Controller. And so if I am at the bottom and I open the keyboard, it pushes up. But then if I'm not, it doesn't push up.
Oh, nice.
And so that's kind of a nice thing. And then it also has, maybe the example doesn't have. It's supposed to have the keyboard behavior where it closes, but
yes, when you scroll down.
I think Codex forgot to add that prop, but that does work. And so then if I say hi to this agent, it'll scroll it up to the top like you want an agent to do. And so that is all very hard to do, but it's all just kind of handled inside here. So when I send a message, I think that's all handled for you, actually. Oh, yeah. So when you send a message, it just sets the anchor at the last message that you're sending.
Okay.
So then all you have to do in the keyboard aware legend list is just set anchor index on anchor end space. And so then that will do this really nice thing where it'll close the keyboard and scroll to the top automatically. And so what that does internally is it creates a blank space, first it measures the size of the message that you just sent, measures the size of the total content, or the scroller size. It puts a blank space at the bottom, And then as the message resizes, it shrinks the blank space to compensate.
Okay.
And so then once you get to a fully sent message, the blank space is effectively gone. But then there's a bunch of weird stuff, like if you send the message and then scroll up and then scroll down, the blank space should still be there. If you open the keyboard while that's happening, it should handle the blank space. Figuring all this out was very hard, but
I'm sure
this is just all handled for you now. So if you're making an AI chat app or just a chat app, it's just so much easier now.
Awesome. Yeah. And keyboard aware LegendList comes from LegendList, right?
Yeah, it's exported at /keyboard.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. And it needs reanimated because a lot of this is built on reanimated, and it also needs keyboard controller, obviously.
I mean, I think anybody can look at their package JSON, and I feel like those are already installed, right?
Yeah.
So, and just your handler. I feel like those three always come with React. They might as well just be like in React Native at this point.
Yes. Yeah. And there is an anchored end space in the regular React Native package as well, and the web package. So I can show you that one, actually. Just a quick detour into web. Wow, that animation was slow. Oh no, I shouldn't have restarted it. Hold on, let me.
Was that Arc, the browser?
Helium, yeah.
That's a new one. I'm gonna
very good.
Bookmark that to take a look. Well, not the animation, right?
So this is the anchored end space. I can do this on web, and it works on web as well. So LegendList is on React Native and React, and try to have all the same features across them.
Nice. Yeah, that was very smooth from when you clicked send.
Yeah. So yeah, back to React Native, which is what we all care about.
Exactly.
Well, let me minimize this. Yeah, so if you're trying to make chat, strongly recommend keyboard aware LegendList. It makes everything so much easier.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about visibility. So in flat list and flash list, there's props for visibility changing, or viewability, I guess. But then in LegendList, I made also just an item level hook. And so then as I scroll, I just hook it up to opacity. And so you can just have an item level hook to track the viewability. I think there's a lot of apps that have all this complexity around. The list prop is very confusing for tracking which item is happening. But then, yeah, we just have use viewability amount, which tells you what % visible it is. Okay. And then you can set the opacity on that. And so that's, yeah, it makes things a lot easier.
I like that, yeah.
It sets that on a shared value.
Yeah, it shows like it's prominent, right? It's like 8, 9, and 10 here are prominent versus the rest. So it draws the user's attention to them.
You would probably not actually do this opacity thing in a real app. It's a little bit silly. It looks kind of cool. But a lot of them are using it for like a video player. It should start playing once it gets 10% onto screen or something like that. Or you can use it for analytics to say that story 8 just came into view, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I have seen something like this, horizontal, where it's a onboarding, like onboarding cards where you have all the cards side by side, and as you're swiping the cards, they kind of like come in versus come out. You know what I'm talking about? And like the ones on the edge are usually opaque versus like kind of like in the background. So yeah, another idea there. I'm sure, you know, these are all examples that, you know, like you mentioned, you brought in from different projects along the way, which is kind of great to know and be aware of.
Another cool feature LegendList has is there's a shared values prop where you can give it an object that has a bunch of shared values. And so then that will just hook it up to the internals, to those shared values. So I can say, here's an is@end shared value. And then that will just be set automatically in LegendList. So then in the example, we see them turn green when they're active. And so these are just all driven, like this progress is driven by scroll position in a worklet. So that never goes through JS. And then you can see it kind of there's a threshold for whether I'm near the end or not, and then within the follow threshold is where if I append an item, it will maintain scroll position to it. There's that is maintain scroll at end doing that, and then I'm at the end now, and so I can keep appending stuff, and it'll keep me at the end. And so, yeah, it's really nice to just be able to just give it your shared values and not have to manage all that stuff. Because I've seen so many apps where they're getting the JS event and then making a worklet that sets it onto the shared value. It's a big mess. So this was, again, I kept doing this in a bunch of different apps. So it's just like, let's just let you just pass the shared value straight into it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good. That's helpful. Cool. Yeah, and that's, again, like keyboard controller. Animated LegendList, I assume, is exported LegendList reanimated. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
So that obviously is the feature only of the reanimated export.
Correct. Yeah. So you still need reanimated, like we said, and keyboard controller. Yeah.
How are we doing on time? Do we want to do some more of these, or we can talk about some other apps?
I think what we can do right now actually is pivot. If you can show, I know you mentioned you had some debugging stuff. I think it would be cool to kind of see the debugging stuff and then move into like our sneak peek future stuff. That would be cool.
Okay. So yeah, for the debugging stuff, I was just going to show what things kind of look like. So if items are slow, then it might be hard to show here. So if every item is really slow to render, then you'll get these big blank spaces because the items are slow. So this is just kind of, if you're trying to debug your stuff, then if your items render really fast, you're not going to get any blanks while you scroll. But if your items are slow, then you are. So if you're seeing blank spaces, it's probably your fault, and you need to make your items render faster. Because there's not a lot I can do at this point to make LegendList itself faster. It's more of, if your items take 6 milliseconds to render, then at some point you just saturate React's ability to handle it.
Yeah.
So that's not really a debugging tool. It's just knowing what to look for.
Re-render less, re-render quicker.
Yeah.
Or exactly. No, re-render less, render quicker. Don't re-render.
Yes. So then this is an example of the draw distance for the window size. So it defaults to 250. So what that does is, as I scroll, you can see the window here of only 348 is barely visible, 358 is barely visible down there, but it's actually buffered 2 extra items on each side.
Okay.
But then if you turn the window down to 0, then you see at the bottom it starts flashing because it isn't preparing ahead anymore. But then if I turn it up to 1000, then you don't get any flashing because it's rendering so much farther ahead. But then it's rendering 7 extra items above, and then that's like 24 extra items below for some reason. So it makes because the draw distance also, it's the amount above and below, but then if you're scrolling really fast, it'll shift it mostly below. So that's why the buffer is so much bigger on the bottom, to try to give you space as you're scrolling. So then if
because I remember, pre-flash list, there was the whole idea of like, how can I scroll fast on a paginated list and not have white space, right? So back then it was, you set your end threshold to like basically on screen so that you're always fetching ahead super fast, right? So you haven't even started scrolling and you fetch like 5 screens ahead sort of thing, just to get it ready and prepared so you have that data. Now it seems like if you do want something along those lines, like setting the 1000, and I like what you said, if you're scrolling real fast, the buffer is no longer shifted from the top to the bottom, so you get extra bottom buffer. I think that is actually a pretty cool optimization because it helps, right? If you're scrolling down fast, because the first thing any QA or product person does that when there's a long list is, how can I get that white space to show at the bottom so I can kind of, send it back to dev or whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. I like that.
Yeah, so I was just thinking of for the thing you said about paging. I think there's two ways to do that. One is there's an on-end reached callback.
Yes.
And then there's an on-end reached threshold, which I believe is number of screen sizes. So you could set that to like 2. And so you'll get notified that you've reached the end way early, and then you can start preparing. Or you can just have it in on scroll and just figure it out.
Yeah.
There's another thing is there's a get state. I don't think I have any examples of that, but on the ref of the legend list, there's a get state function, which returns you a bunch of the internal state. So you can get what's the current scroll position, what's the total length, what's the scroll size, all that stuff. So if you're doing more advanced things, you can get all that in there.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say you can make a little more because on the end threshold stuff is very opinionated, right? There's you can't really mess with it. And I remember back then, like they were like, oh, don't use like 1.5. It had to be like a whole number or something. Anyways, this kind of gives you more granular information where you can make those, high level decisions on, which I like.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I think if you can kind of just talk real quick about your skills, and then I want to get into the sneak peek stuff.
Okay.
Which again, I'll include the skills in the show notes, along with, LegendList repo and all that. So we, listeners can take a look at it.
Okay. So here's the skills repo. So it's Legend app / Legend skills. There's 35 stars already. So I have some things I use a lot, which is a commit skill, which just has some nice guidance on how to name it. Commit confirm is fun. It will split all of the changes by concept and suggest multiple different commits, and then suggest names for all of them. And then I can tell it to change the names, or I can just say go, and then it'll do all the commits. Diagnose is the one that is the best, which is the one I talked about earlier. So I use that for basically everything. Just here's a problem, go and find out how to fix it. So this is, the core of my workflow now. Diagnose loop just does that in a loop. So I can say like, keep finding fixes until there aren't any left. I use git integrate for basically doing automatic rebases and merges and stuff, because it just handles the conflicts for me. And then I have best practices for LegendList and LegendState and just general React coding style. Those tend to just get picked up by the agent. So it's like, oh, I'm working on something near LegendList, I'll use the best practices for it.
Yeah.
So you can use that for either just while you're developing, it'll pick it up automatically, or say, audit my current usage of it and find problems. Cool. And then simplify is for, especially when I'm using these diagnose things, it'll go and say like, I tried a solution, it didn't work. I tried another one, it didn't work. I tried another one, it didn't work. Okay, the fourth one worked. Now let's commit it all. But those first 3 are actually useless. So then simplify will take all of the current concepts and just remove them one by one until the fix stops being a fix, to actually get down to what was the actual fix. This is just to kind of work around the agent's tendency to just do a bunch of random stuff. So I just wanted to get it down to just the fix so I can have a smaller diff.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. I like that. Yeah. It might sound weird, but that commit skill is one of my favorite ones, because I forget what happened. I was working on a task and, it was a large refactor of something, and it committed everything in one large commit. I was like, but that doesn't show all the work that we kind of like went through to get to the end result. So I'm like, all right, redo all that, but now give me sequential commits that show the progression of what we built to get to the end. And I expect this file to be the last file and this file to be the first commit. Go. And then I get all that, but I almost have to like spell it out every single time. So I kind of like that skill. I don't mean to like minify the rest, but that one has just so many times AI has just been like, cool, commits are done. what's it? Git add all, git add dot, commit them all in one.
Yeah,
and give you this like lengthy message.
Yeah, and I think there's also encoded in there, if you made the changes, commit only your changes. Because I often have multiple agents going in the same work tree and just like, okay, yeah, commit your stuff, and then they ignore all the rest.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. Yeah, commit agents code changes by default. Nice, cool. Yeah. So before we get into the secret stuff, Robin wants to see you and Kinsey Dodds in the Thunderdome arguing about whether rendering is cheap or expensive.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. So there you go, Robin.
That's the answer.
Yeah, that's the answer. And then, Frank, render less often, I think is Jay's motto.
That is the motto that I use in every one of my talks. I did one of my talks this year was I changed it to render once.
Yeah,
but that's a bit more aggressive. That's a way to use LegendState, is to only render once.
Yeah, cool. All right. I think before we wrap up the demo part, you had 2 demos or sneak peeks, I guess, to show off for us.
Yes. So I've been working on a bunch of desktop apps, and so I can show you maybe 2 or 3 of them. So one of them is a chat history app. Oh, that's not going to work. That's annoying. Where would that be? I guess show original won't work. Okay.
Just
I can try to find that in a bit. So Legend Diff should work. Yeah. So this is a diffing tool where you can open a repo and then view the diff of it, and then it's extremely fast when you're not streaming. And so the way this works is there's a C++ Nitro module which loads all the Git stuff, starts parsing everything, does that all in the background. It fires up to LegendList, just the metadata of there's this number of items and there's these files, and that's it. And then I think at this index is a hunk, and this index is just a row for the diff. And so what it does is the hunk row and the file header row are rendered in React Native. The diffs themselves are rendered natively back into the Nitro module, because all of the stuff is there, and passing text back and forth across is real slow. So this is this weird thing where it's basically everything's loaded in C++ and rendered in C++, but it uses JavaScript for the scroller because the scroller is so fast. Yeah. And then you can collapse things instantly. Everything feels really nice. So this is using a future LegendList 4, which is not nearly ready to be out yet, but this is changing so that you don't need a data array anymore. So instead, there's going to be a data source prop where you basically just say, I have 1 million lines, and this is how you get them. And so, for example, there's this converting bun to Rust diff. So this is 1 million lines, and this is fine. So there's all these files, and you can scroll to any of them instantly. It's all totally fine. And so, yeah, future LegendList 4 is trying to support millions of items without any slowdown.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So I've been making these apps as ways to stress test LegendList, but also they turn out to be good apps in themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think anyone that's talked to you to like desktop, which I assume is going to be Legend Desktop, has been something you're working on.
I have a repo that I'll open source soon called Legend Apps. And that's going to have 5 desktop apps in it so far.
Awesome.
And so then you can also change this to be different view modes. You can change the work trees here. This is all native UI. This is a native context menu. There's a native glass view up here. This is a native split view. Nice. I found a bug where it added too much padding there. There's a native search bar. And so this will let you scroll through stuff.
Oh, wow.
And then it has the nice animation because it's a native button.
Yeah. That's nice.
And then there's this settings window where this is a legend list scrolling, and then it uses a feature of LegendList, which is on first item changed to highlight in the sidebar.
Nice.
And that prop is also used for highlighting the sidebar here.
Okay.
So yeah, this is just kind of a first version to make the tech work, and then I'm going to build some better features on it.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Legend Diff. I don't think officially GitHub has a desktop app, but there's other ways to get it.
Yeah. And then here's another app I'm working on. So that one was using fixed size items. This one is fully dynamic, which, wow, this looks so much worse when I'm streaming. It doesn't normally look this bad. So this is also to test. This is all, dynamic sizes of stuff.
Yeah.
To stress test the LegendList. But I'm trying to make an actual really fast Markdown editor. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah, you showed me this Markdown editor where you were trying to open it in, I believe it was like Cursor, and it actually crashed. But then you opened it in in your LegendList app, and it opened up pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I shouldn't have closed it. So yeah, this is a 10 megabyte file that just opens instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the loading part's real fast. The scrolling is good when it's not streaming. I'm still working on fixing some editing things.
Nice.
And then also this is using React Native enriched Markdown from Software Mansion, which is incredible. They just released syntax highlighting in their latest version. So I got to pull that in so I can get these highlighted. Let's see if this one opens. So this was, I'm probably not going to release this, but it's just open source in case someone wants to do something with it. But this is a code editor that opens code very quickly. I think syntax highlighting broke at some point, but you could make a very fast React Native syntax highlighter. It loaded it in 9 milliseconds.
Wow.
Nice. And let me see if I can find this chat history app.
Yeah, you said you had an AI chat app.
Yeah. If not, I'll just show the tweet about it.
And this is all pretty cool because this is all built, using LegendList, which is kind of awesome to see.
And
is it all using React Native Desktop or Electron? Or your own desktop version?
It's React Native macOS.
React Native macOS. Cool. And that's, by the Microsoft team and Saad over there.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry for the delay here because I know I kind of put you on the spot last minute to say, yeah, let's do this sneak peek. Because I think it's pretty cool. You kind of get to show that because desktop is something new that people are kind of talking about a lot in the community.
I found it. I'm working on releasing it, so it got moved into a dist folder.
Oh, nice.
So this is, oh no, it's only the diff app. I don't have chat history in here. Okay. I guess I can't show that one. So I'll just.
Well, that's fine because if you show the tweet and then everyone can kind of be following you on socials to kind of see it happen.
So yeah, this is, I am not trying to make an AI app. This is just, it loads the files that are in your Codex and Claude folders. But basically the purpose is to show that it can load them really fast and it can scroll them really fast. So I send the message, I get the anchored end space stuff. It scrolls real nice and fast. And then switching chats is instant. And if I do that in the Codex app or something, it sometimes takes many seconds to actually load it.
Yeah.
Which is very frustrating. So yeah, I think it's too much work to build a full AI app, so I'm not trying to do that right now. But I'm just very frustrated that apps are slow and I want them to be faster. And it's very possible to do it. And React Native Desktop is really good. Yeah.
Well, especially kind of showing what you're showing off here, right? So I'll stop sharing here. It's almost like, too fast to the Fast and Furious. Too fast, too furious, but too fast to LegendList for everyone here. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you for that demo. I think that was very helpful. My wrap up and takeaways here. It's easy to kind of transition over to LegendList. LegendList has a lot of learned real battle tested features. Where is it here? Gant said that earlier.
Yeah.
These are real battle tested features that you've had on clients, on projects that are out in the wild that you've helped with their performance, and that kind of comes back to LegendList. So you kind of get this for free. So use it, leverage it, help your app users experience get better. And it's easy to migrate over because, like we talked about, it's just, you add the one recycle prop, you change the name from whatever list you're using to LegendList, and you're there. And, please tweet at Jay, let Jay know how it's going, what you think, and stuff like that. Right.
It's a very strange situation now. There's a lot of people using it and I don't even know about it.
Well, okay. You know what? I will, I mentioned it earlier, but I will get the stats to you and we'll kind of show that off.
Okay. Yeah,
for sure.
Just a few weeks ago, I was thinking I should try doing a PR to T3 code to switch it to LegendList and see if I can make it better. And I went and checked it. It's already using it.
There you go.
Things are using it I don't even know about. It's wild.
Yeah. That's awesome. Cool. Well, before we close off, I like to end these off with a couple rapid fire questions. Okay. I know you've had a lot of rapid fire stuff, but here's another rapid fire section. What if you do play music? Do you play music while you're coding?
Yes.
What music do you like to listen to while you're coding?
It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm reading, I can't have lyrics. So I listen to instrumental, some lo-fi, sometimes like instrumental hip hop. Sometimes I enjoy, I think, what's called epic classical music, where it's like dubstep remixes of classical songs. Those are fun.
Okay.
So it kind of depends. But then if I'm not reading, if I'm just coding, it's more, I like underground hip hop, some hard rock, kind of all over the place.
Nice.
My favorites, I would say Jurassic 5, Run the Jewels. I got to see them live in Croatia a few years ago. It was incredible.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. This is a yes or no, and I want a quick yes or no, Jay.
Okay.
Pineapple on pizza.
Yes, absolutely. Hawaiian's my favorite.
Oh, wow. That was fast. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't even know where to go from here.
Are we still friends?
Stream's over. Here we go. We got the New Yorker that stepped in too. All right, fine. We'll continue. What are 1 to 2 books you've been recommending recently?
I honestly don't read that much, unfortunately.
Yeah. What about blogs? Are there any blogs out there or YouTube series that you've been following?
YouTube series. Well, I mostly watch comedy when I'm not, when I'm trying to enjoy myself. I like Dropout a lot. So they have some shows, Game Changer and Make Some Noise. Those are my favorites to watch. But then more technical stuff. I listen to a lot of podcasts while I'm walking. Okay. I like to go on a lot of long walks and listen to podcasts. So I'll listen to technical ones like React Native Radio or CallStack's podcast is good. Also a lot of comedy podcasts or like entrepreneurship ones.
Nice. Yeah. Love it. Yes, R&R getting a shout out.
Yeah.
Okay, what's one piece of advice you'd give someone just starting out in React Native? I feel like there's a lot, but what's one piece to give? Especially in today's day and age with AI, right?
Yeah, I think the advice I've generally given people starting just in software is build something that you are passionate about or something that's fun. Because I think a lot of people start off with, I want to build a business, and they build something they're not really excited about. Mm-hmm. I got started making games because it was really fun. I was a big gamer at the time. And so it gave me the fuel to stay up late nights just because it was fun and just learn because I cared, I wanted to. So I think find something that you're passionate about and pursue that and have fun with it. So I got into making state and list libraries because I just got very angry about how slow things were. And that passion drove me. So yeah, if you like games, make a game. Just do something fun. You don't need to build a business on your first go. Just learn something.
I love that piece of advice. I love that. What are you most excited about in the tech world right now?
I really love these testing tools, Agent Device and Argent. Like the combination of that with AI has just changed everything for me. It's debugging and testing was always the hardest part, especially for my libraries and stuff and performance optimization. And so that has just changed everything for me, where I can just have it run itself. I can say like, go make it faster and then go take a shower and come back and then it's faster.
Nice.
Obviously, I still have to review all the code. I think this diff app is probably going to turn into an app called Legend Review. Still trying to figure out what that looks like. But I think reviewing has become the hardest thing for me, and that's something I want to try to solve.
I agree. Yeah. Reviewing is for me personally, reviewing is the biggest pain point now because we're spending more time reviewing than we are, building like we used to do in the past. Now it's just shifted to reviewing and validating and making sure we didn't go off the rails with the business logic and all that stuff. So
yeah.
Cool. Last question, and this is my favorite question to ask every guest.
Okay.
Where can people find you if they want to reach out, and how can the listeners be useful to you?
Okay. Twitter is the best way.
You called it Twitter, not X, so
yes,
we're friends again.
Still a believer.
Pizza incident.
Yeah, that's the best way. And I guess useful to me, I would love to know if you're using LegendList, just period. And then also if you have any problems with it, if it's working well, like show me something cool that you built with it. I'd love to see that. If you have ideas for how you want a review app to work, let me know.
Nice. Yeah. And I think for everyone wanting to follow Jay, that's Jay Meistrich. So the letter J Meistrich, Meistrich. Or also can just follow your Legend account, which is Legend App HQ on X. I want to thank you, Jay, for coming on. I really appreciate it. This was a fun episode, getting to see everything. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Hopefully we can kind of get you out again to do LegendState or even something else that you're working on these days.
Yeah.
To the guests, I want to thank you for showing up, asking questions, and interacting this whole time. It was fun. Kind of keep this going, and after taking the 1 month off for Chain React, I'm glad I'm back. Please don't forget to subscribe. I have a lot of fun stuff coming out. I mentioned Tester Army. They actually accepted my invite prior to this call, this live stream. I will have Britta Evans-Fenton from Shopify. She'll be doing an accessibility talk with us. So that'll be a fun one, an underlooked, something we don't take much care or attention in, right? So that would be a cool one to kind of talk about. Please subscribe, reach out if you have any questions or topics, suggestions you'd like me to cover in the future. I'd love to kind of hear from you all and what you all think about how this is going. Awesome. Well, have a good one, everyone. Bye.
Bye.